The Starfire Protocol Solar Warlock was one of the hottest builds in the previous expansion, and with the new Lightfall fragments and Lightfall mods, it's only gotten better. And today I want to show you exactly how to set it all up so you can start throwing nuclear bombs every second in any activity of your choosing. But before we get into all of that, more than 2/3 of you are not yet subscribed to my channel. So if you find value in today's video, I'd appreciate your consideration in switching teams. This build all begins with our exotic armor piece, the Starfire Protocol, which I still can't believe has not yet received an ornament in game. In addition to granting us a second charge of our fusion grenade, this exotic armor piece has two main components, with the first refunding our class ability in full on grenade final blows, and the other refunding grenade energy when dealing empowered weapon damage. Empowered weapon damage, by the way, means weapon damage while in an empowering rift or a well of radiance. Specifically, the exotic grants a 20% refund to our grenade for every instance of empowered weapon damage, with a 0.3 second cooldown in between activations. This means that it is not the amount of damage that correlates with the amount of grenade energy refunded, but rather the frequency of which the damage is dealt. This makes damage over time weapons like Witherhoard and Osteostriga incredible pairings with this build. This setup is further enhanced with the introduction of our aspects, beginning with Touch of Flame, which enhances the effects of our solar grenades. Since we are using fusion grenades to synchronize with the Starfire Protocol, we are only concerned with Touch of Flame's enhancement to fusions, which allows them to explode twice, effectively doubling your damage outright. Our second aspect is Icarus Dash, which allows us to activate our air move while airborne to perform a quick dash in any direction. Additionally, the distance and speed of this dash can be significantly enhanced by activating your boost jump immediately before pressing the air move button, making it an incredibly useful movement tool for escaping danger and repositioning to safety. These aspects provide us with 4 fragment slots, which is where this build begins to change a lot compared to its previous form in Witch Queen. We begin with the Ember of Searing, which grants both melee energy and a fire sprite when defeating a scorched target. Remember that fire sprites are artifacts that can be scavenged for grenade energy, but we can better the benefits of fire sprite pickup further with the Ember of Mercy, which in addition to receiving and granting restoration to our allies when reviving them, also grants us restoration on fire sprite pickup. And if that wasn't enough healing, fragment slot number 3 will be occupied by the Ember of Resolve, which grants Cure, a 60 HP heal on grenade final blows. We'll then round it all out with the Ember of Torches, which grants the radiant weapon damage buff when inflicting damage with a powered melee attack, the importance of which you'll understand a bit more once we go over our mod setup, which we'll jump into right now. Our mod configuration begins with a copy of Reaper on our class item to generate an Orb of Power on weapon final blows after casting our class ability. We'll also want Firepower on our gloves to generate an Orb of Power on grenade final blows, of which we'll be getting a lot of. And to round out our orb generation capabilities, we'll slot a Siphon mod on our helmet, matching the element of our primary ammo weapon, or Harmonic Siphon if that element is solar. Picking up these orbs will give us a whole slew of benefits through mods like Innervation for grenade energy refund, and 2 copies of Weapon Surge for a 17% elemental weapon damage increase while armor charged, making sure to match the element of the surge to the element of your primary weapon. If, however, you are in an activity or encounter in which you are doing boss DPS, like a raid, you want to instead match the element of your surge mods to your heavy weapon. And what's more is that the damage boost from these mods stacks with ability-based damage buffs like Empowerment from Empowering Rifts and Well of Radiance, as well as the Radiant buff we'll be receiving from Empowered Melee Damage thanks to the Ember of Torches. Continuing with our mods, Time Dilation on the class item will bump your armor charge stack decay timer up to 15 seconds from the default 10 seconds, giving you much more time on your weapon damage buff, per orb pickup. And depending on whether or not your selected major stat mod leaves room for it, you can optionally run a copy of Bomber in the final class item slot for a refund to grenade energy when casting your class ability. As for the gloves, you'll want to accompany your existing firepower mod with a copy of Impact Induction for grenade refund when dealing melee damage, and, depending on what stat mods you have slotted, an optional copy of Focusing Strike to also gain class ability energy refund when dealing melee damage. Popping back over to the helmet, since we'll be getting most of our kills with our grenades, you'll definitely want a copy of Ashes to Assets for increased super gains on grenade final blows, being sure to also slot a copy of Powerful Friends right next to it to grant nearby allies a stack of armor charge when picking up Orbs of Power, which, remember, you have 3 different sources to generate. With this core mod setup established, you can round things out with resistances and reserves on the chest and stat mods on all 5 pieces, prioritizing resilience above all else, slotting extra points into discipline, recovery, or intellect. And down below, you can find a Destiny item manager link to copy all of this to your Guardian in just a single click if you like that kind of thing. And if you would consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons while you're down there, I'd appreciate it a whole lot. Now, assembling this blend of incredible abilities and mods isn't going to do you much good if you don't know the best ways to put them all to use. So here are a few key objectives you want to hit when running this build. The obvious power fantasy here is to use your Empowering Rift to get grenades, which you can then use to re-obtain your Rift. This positive feedback loop is further benefited by damage over time weapons like the previously mentioned Witherhoard, and perhaps even stuff like Anarchy. Of course, using these weapons isn't necessary for this build to function incredibly well, however they do help significantly. But speccing all of your abilities into their offensive options, opting for the Fusion Grenade and Empowering Rift as opposed to their healing counterparts, is going to make your gameplay a bit more dangerous. Or at least it did before the introduction of the new fragments we received in Lightfall. Now, with the Embers of Resolve and Mercy, not only will killing enemies with your grenades grant an immediate heal, but it will also create scavengeable objects that you can grab for a constant healing buff, allowing you to either roam the map or stay planted in your rift chucking grenades much more safely than before. In addition to that, with your armor charge weapon surge buff being able to stack with Radiant, you can maintain insane levels of weapon damage even when not standing inside rifts or wells. And to round it all out, you've got arguably the most crucial raid boss super in the game in Well of Radiance, which can be used to not only generate orbs to grant allies armor charge, but to also receive a buff that stacks with your 17% weapon damage buff for next level raid boss DPS. If there is a loadout to save, prepare, and practice for upcoming Day 1 raids and Grandmaster Nightfalls, it's this one. I hope you enjoyed today's build viewing experience and equally enjoy using it in game. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.